Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Sandisk. It is time for another update, and it's been a while since we last covered this stock, but the structure hasn't been giving out too many opportunities, right? The pattern had rather weak corrections, and only recently, only in the last week, have we started something more substantial that can even represent a trade setup that is actually quite favorable in my opinion here within the smaller time frame. Now, for some context on this chart, we can expect the uptrend to continue for significantly longer. And I'm sure, since we have been going up and up and up and up over more than a year, a lot of people must be thinking that this has to come to an end very soon. It's been pushing higher and higher for so long, it has to form a top and bring the larger correction. And while I can expect larger corrections to start appearing, I wouldn't expect a top to be in. And it doesn't even have to be close. Within this movement to the upside, we are looking at a very strong and extended impulse where previously we have been rightfully tracking this as a wave 3. And it is still possible that this would have been the actual wave 3. But given the strength we see in this structure, I believe we may be looking even at an extension of the wave 3 itself, where, yes, this could work out as a wave 5, an extended wave 5, but just as well, I could start looking for this to be the actual wave 3 to the upside, because what do we actually need to consider that to be the wave 3? We need to consider this to have been instead a wave 1 up. In such a scenario, we would expect to reach the ideal target for a wave 3 still, which is the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. That sits roughly at around $2,500. I believe we can very easily get to those levels, especially since in this yellow structure we have been tracking possible extensions. We have been prepared nonetheless for a potential larger wave 4 correction, but we have so far only fulfilled an internal wave 3 to the upside in this 5-wave pattern. We would need to then track it as a single large wave 3. We would have this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, and then even once we complete this latest wave 5, which seems to be quite extended, we could be looking at yet another 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that alone might only be completing this as a larger wave 3 to the upside, and that's not even the most bullish pattern for this chart, right? This structure could actually lead to something even more so, where even this might have been a series of 1-2 setups, and this could turn into the wave 3 itself. I wouldn't get overconfident on this idea, but until we break levels of support for a potential internal wave 4, or maybe build a larger wave 4 correction that would not fit for this to be the actual wave 3, we will need to be open to such a possibility where even further extensions would be necessary, right? Everything until this could have worked out as a 1-2 setup, and we have presented a similar possibility on the micron chart where this latest development, this latest push to the upside could become the wave 3 itself. That is not necessary, but given the strength of the structure, it is a possibility. Now, in this internal structure, I am tracking the idea of a potential impulse to still be in play. If it is to be a wave 3 developing in this movement to the upside, it actually must be an impulse. And we won't actually be labeling every single one of these waves to the upside, but I will give you the general idea of what we could be tracking. In more simplistic terms, I could be looking at this to be something like a series of 1-2 setups in this structure, and what I'm most focused on is this movement to the upside, because in this structure, we finally start to see some more clarity. In this structure, I'm looking at this to be a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down here. Yeah, this would have been a 5-wave pattern within the wave 1. Within the wave 2, we have quite clearly formed a 3-wave correction. And then this would be within the wave 3, a quite clearly defined impulse in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this allows me to look for a very clearly defined area of support for a wave 4, where I know that these levels of support down to just below $1,300 must hold for this to be a reliable structure within the idea of an impulse. If we fail to hold these levels of support, Not only will this correction become actually quite extended, much more than it would have been expected, ideal, and while breaking this is not a guarantee that we will not be extending to higher prices because the larger trend, the larger structure is still quite bullish, but it wouldn't provide any longer a reliable pattern we could be tracking. In this overall wave 4 correction, I would actually prefer that we have a bottom in. It's not the most clear 3-wave pattern we would have, but the structure itself could work out in a few different ways. I could track it even as an A, B, C pattern. It could work out as a more complex correction. We could have a triangle workout within this as a wave 4. Frankly, it doesn't matter too much. And if this is to build something like a larger A, B, C pattern, even if we ultimately hold the 50% retracement, I would actually start to have doubts of the overall count within this movement to the upside because the wave 4 at that point would become actually quite extended. This doesn't mean we cannot track the levels of resistance for such a potential, and we can even notice that we have gotten rejected quite perfectly. At the 38.2% retracement yesterday, we have tried a few times to actually get through it, but nothing substantial has managed to get in, and it has gotten rejected every single time, forming lower highs. One more thing to mention, even though we can track this as part of a wave B correction, especially since this movement to the upside doesn't really have the properties of maybe even a 5-wave pattern, it doesn't need to have such properties because this as a wave 5 we can be tracking from this bottom of the wave 4 correction is a structure that can work out as an ending diagonal, right? The wave 5 can be an ending diagonal, meaning that while we expect it to build a 5-wave pattern, the internal structure, even that of the motive waves, is a 3-wave structure. Now, without getting too much into further details, these are the most interesting levels I can find on this chart at this moment. We can maybe define an internal area of support, but unfortunately it's not going to be something too substantial because we do not have a clear 5-wave pattern to the upside. But ideally, if this wave 4 has a bottom in, we would hold at least above $1,340. But ultimately, I would actually still focus on the 50% retracement for the larger wave 4 down to $1,300, where we have some additional structural support that can help in forming a reversal in case a complete reset is needed within this as a wave 4. Below that, the probabilities of this pattern would be greatly damaged, and I believe we would need to be provided more clarity before this chart can be trusted once more. And for now, we will stop here. These are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.